Here we go! Hey guys, it's Ashley, and today it's time for my July wrap-up, which is much better than my June wrap-up. Can I just tell you? I read a total of 11 books this month. And they're all pretty substantial books. Okay, maybe not all. A lot of them are fairly substantial books, and I am quite pleased with this month's reading. So let's jump in. I read 2 books towards the Year of Doll. The first was Danny, the Champion of the World, and the other was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'll have a Year of Doll check-in coming up very, very soon, like as soon as I finish getting this one up. So the first non-doll book that I finished in the month of July was a chunker, a very lyrical chunker. It was the Hamiltome, also known as Hamilton the Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda and Jeremy MacArthur. This is the book that tells you how Hamilton, the amazing Broadway production, came into existence. It blends the history of Alexander Hamilton with the history of Hamilton the musical in just a beautiful way. There are pictures. Let's open up one. Here we go. Oh, this is a great one. This is a photo from the actual play. The book is divided up into a series of essays talking about different parts of Hamilton coming into existence, and in between those essays we get the lyrics to the songs, often accompanied by pretty pictures. Oh look, there's another one. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous book. Like, I'm just flipping at random and I'm coming up with gorgeous pictures here because this book is so pretty. I read most of it on the 4th of July, which was so appropriate, and I forced my family to listen to the soundtrack. If you like Hamilton, you need to read this book because it just gives you so much more insight into not only the show itself, but the songs and how Lin came up with all of these. I mean, seriously, that guy is like Alexander Hamilton. He is just non-stop with his writing and with his little nods to different things, not just historical things, but to musical things, and everything is just so well done. And he talks about, like, even how he picked out certain words to make sure that the words themselves were historically accurate, and it's just phenomenal. And I have such a deeper appreciation for the show after reading this book. Hopefully someday in my life I'll get to actually see it, but until then, I have the Hamiltone. In case you didn't figure out, yeah, Hamilton, the Revolution, 5 stars. 5 giant shining stars. The next book that I read / listened to was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This was a bit of a disappointment for me. I've heard people talk about this a whole lot in terms of creativity and being brave with your life and all that sort of thing, which is basically the tagline. Not basically, it is the tagline, creative living beyond fear. And so I was really excited to get to it. I bought it on my birthday this year and just never actually got around to reading it. And so I listened to the audiobook because I got the audiobook at BEA. So thank you BEA and publishers. So I guess thank you Penguin for the audiobook because it enabled me to listen to it while I was driving to the mountains one day, which was glorious. And it wasn't that it was a bad book, it just wasn't what I was expecting. And I couldn't connect with Elizabeth Gilbert's thinking a lot of times. She sees ideas as living entities that float around in the ether, and they're looking for a body to inhabit that will bring them to life. And they pop around from one person, and if that person doesn't want that idea, then they go back into the ether until they find someone who will bring their idea to life. And I just have a hard time connecting with that representation of an idea. But I did like a lot of what she talks about overcoming fear and living a more creative life. So in that sense, I did enjoy it. I gave it, I believe, 3 out of 5 stars, maybe 2.5. Again, I personally didn't connect with it a whole bunch, but because of how I was reading it, I was listening to it while I was driving through the mountains on just a beautiful day off. It did make me kind of go into myself and think about creativity and being more creative, and I had my journal with me. So as I was stopping at different places in the mountains, I would sit down and I would just be creative in my journal. So it was a decent book, and so I wouldn't say don't read it. I didn't connect to it. I didn't love it as much as I wanted to, and as much as I thought I was going to based on other people saying that they loved it. But it was still a good book if you are interested in living a creative life and overcoming that fear of being who you are. This might be a good book for you to check out. Plus, it's a really pretty cover. And then Booktubeathon happened, and I read 6 books in the week of Booktubeathon, and I was really excited. So the first one that I finished was Looking for Lovely by Annie F. Downs. If you've been around here, you know that I absolutely loved Annie's book, Let's All Be Brave. It still sits over by my TV because I just can't bear to put it on the shelf. So when this book was announced and when it came out, I had to have it, and for some reason I didn't get to it until now. But I got to it, and I read it in a little over a day. I didn't love it like I love Let's All Be Brave, but it's a very different kind of book. This book is written out of a time in Annie's life when she was very depressed and anxious and very unsure of what was going on in her life. And so it was coming out of that place of hurt and pain and confusion and just how she worked through it, sort of. But it wasn't a how-to. It wasn't like a journey of this is how I was and this is how I am now. It was very small ways that she came out of that and just some lessons she learned along the way. Did I love this No. Did I enjoy it? Yes, because I love Annie's writing. It's very much like a friend just sitting down with you, having a cup of coffee out in the woods. I definitely like this. I gave it 3 or 4 stars. I don't remember exactly, but it was a good book. Annie just makes it feel like when you have those bad moments or those bad months or bad years, that it's okay, and that it's okay to be who you are, and it's okay to go through that pain and to say, yes, this is where I am, but this is not how I'm going to be forever, and to own that and to come through that and have your story to share. She's just lovely. Then I listened to another audiobook. I know, who the heck am I? But I listened to On the Road by Jack Kerouac and watched the film interpretation. I'll let you go over to my Booktubeathon vlog when I get around to that and see what I thought of that. But On the Road by Jack Kerouac is one of those classics. It's from the beat era of the 1950s, and Jack Kerouac is a son of my hometown, so like I can't believe it took me this long to get to it, and I really wanted to like this. It's a road trip story. He's from my hometown. Like, I should have loved it, and I kind of hated it. I gave it 3 stars because I understand like the literary importance or whatever, but personally I wanted to give it like 1 or 2 stars. I didn't like it hardly at all. There were a couple things here and there that I enjoyed. Listening to the audiobook, I'm so glad I did that over reading it because, again, I was driving through the mountains. It was so much more picturesque and easier to imagine, and the guy who was voicing it was fantastic, and so it made me laugh at a couple points, whereas when I was reading the book, it felt drier to me. I don't know if it's just a style thing or what, but I just didn't... I think because it's just such a different lifestyle than what I have or what I aspire to. There was a lot of drugs, a lot of drinking, a lot of sex, a lot of mixing people's spouses, a lot of stealing, a lot of things that I just do not value whatsoever in my life. So I just didn't relate to it in that aspect. I do see why this is considered like a classic of the generation and why it's important, and it does give a glimpse into sort of the other side of the 1950s. We tend to think of the 50s as like sock hops and blah blah blah, and this is the other side of it. So I did appreciate it for that, but personally it's like 1 or 2 stars. I really didn't enjoy it. Sorry guys. Sorry Jack. I know. Go lol, but no. Then I read Own It by Tabitha Coffey. The tagline of this is be the boss of your own life at home and in the workplace, and so I expected it to be like a self-help type of book, like a how to live your life better, both at home and in the workplace, but really this book was mostly about the workplace or a home business, but not so much on like the personal level. It was all the business level. I mean, at one point she even goes into how to decide if your business should be solely owned by you, or if you should have a partner, or if you should have an LLC, and what the differences are, and like, sorry, that's a business book. That's not a personal book. So it just didn't connect with me in that sense, and I felt like it was kind of a false representation of what the book was. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars, and I did appreciate a lot of what she said, but even then, a lot of the advice she was giving was very, very basic entry-level things. So if you are just starting out your business, you don't really have any experience in business owning, and you're literally like just getting started, check this out, because she does talk about business in a way that's easy to understand in a common sense, no nonsense way. But other than that, if you are experienced in business or have any kind of background in business, this is going to be a lot of repetitiveness. So for that reason, I do believe I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. I love Tabitha, but this book missed the mark for me. Then I read The Measure of a Lady by Deanne Gist. This is a Christian historical romance, and I loved it. It follows a young woman named Rachel, who along with her 2 younger siblings and her father are heading towards Gold Rush, California. Except her father got ill and died aboard the ship, and now she is stranded there with her 2 siblings because once ships come into California, none of them want to leave because they all want to find the gold. So they're stuck there. And unfortunately, California during the gold rush was not a place for children and proper ladies, as she quickly discovers, and so a saloon owner by the name of Johnny lets them rent out his shed in the back, and they're all kind of struggling to find their way here. Rachel is trying really hard to keep her small family together and keep them from going totally immoral in this bustling town full of sin and debauchery, and she kind of fails miserably. So there's a romance, there's total falling out and redemption, there is just so much to this story, and I really, really enjoyed it. I did give it only 4 stars out of 5 because Rachel kind of got on my nerves a lot. She had a lot of double standards and was very hypocritical about things, and I didn't buy her turnaround in the end. It was literally like 2 seconds. Oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't be so mean to the prostitutes. Like, it was too quick, too sudden, and I didn't buy it. I didn't buy that she really truly had this character change. So this book did dive into some really heavy topics, such as redemption, such as faith, such as morality, and how living in a world of sin and chaos and evil can be a part of following Christ and how to balance the two and what Jesus really would have done in those kinds of situations. And so while it was talking about all these things, I felt like it just was missing that one little push to go deeper. It just kind of wrapped up too quickly and was missing some things, but I did enjoy it. It was perfect for a readathon, so 4 out of 5 stars. The final book I read for Booktubeathon, not the final book I read for the month, was Grace's Guide by Grace Helbig. This is her guide to being a grown-up, and it was fun. I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. There was a lot of fun pictures. I think that was probably one of my favorite things. But being almost 30, I didn't relate to this book as much as I should have, and that's because it's not really written for a 30-year-old. It's written for like a 20-year-old. So a lot of what she was trying to teach and tell were things that I've been doing for years, like, you know, what not to say when somebody's loved one dies, or how to interview for a job, and things like that. So it was really good in Grace Helbig's style, but personally didn't hit the mark. There was kind of a theme with these books this month, huh? Then I finally finished The Blood of Olympus by Rick Riordan. This is the final book in the Heroes of Olympus story, which is the final Percy book, which I think is why it took me so long. I've been reading this for quite a while, and I think I was just putting it off because I didn't want the Percy story to end, and I didn't want all of their stories to end. So I really can't say much about this because it is the 5th and final book in a series. However, I will say I love this book. For the most part, everything wrapped up very satisfactorily, if that's a word. I was very satisfied with the ending, with the one exception being the Leo storyline. I need some more of that. I need the Leo story to continue a bit, please. Pretty please. Uncle Rick, can we have some more Leo? Am I missing a Leo story somewhere? Because I need to know the rest of that. That's all I can say. But everything else, I was very pleased with. I know that like Percy and Annabeth are going to be in the Apollo series, but like, it's not the same. It's not the same, and I want all of them. I just want to continually read stories about the 7. That's what I want. I just want to keep reading 7 stories. And Raina. I would also like some more on Raina. I grew to love her in this book, and I just want more from her. I just want more of everybody. Just give me more of these books. So anyways, 5 out of 5 stars. And then the final book that I read in the month of July, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child by J.K. Rowling and the other guys, John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. This, of course, is the screenplay for Jo's new story, which is playing now in London, and I'm super jealous. I'm actually going to London in September and can't find tickets. It's very sad. But I loved this book. But it picks up right where we left off in Deathly Hallows when we're on 9 3/4 and Harry and all of our friends are saying goodbye to their children as they're going off to Hogwarts. And so this follows primarily Harry's son, Albus. He is kind of annoying, but I absolutely love Scorpius Malfoy. That, of course, is Draco Malfoy's son. He is the best character in this entire book. I love him so much. He's so sassy and sarcastic and genius and amazing. He's my new favorite character. I loved this story. I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything. I went into this not knowing anything except there's a new Harry Potter book. I was so pleasantly surprised. There were just so many twists and turns. I was kept guessing the entire time. I totally didn't expect this story to go where it was going, and it went, and it was just... So for those of you who love Harry Potter and who are wondering, like, is this book going to live up to it? I totally believe that it does. I love the story. I was getting a little teary right from the beginning. Then things were happening and we re-saw people and I was just like crying. But then there were people that we didn't get to see and I'm kind of upset about that because I want to know where they are and what's going on with them. I was kind of nervous about it being a play format. I wasn't sure how that was going to work and I absolutely loved it. How it actually works on stage, I'm not quite sure. All the magic scenes I would read and be like, that was so cool. And then I'd be like, wait, how does that work on a stage when you can't have like CGI and stuff? But I don't know. I want to see it someday. Someday, story of my life. I want to see shows. But actually having it as a screenplay, I think it worked out even better than if it was a full book. At least I thought that until I saw Christine's review. And then I'm like, yeah, you're right. I would like a full book. But it just moved along so quickly that you didn't have time to get like bored or wonder what was going to happen next or whatever. It was just boom, 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 boom. And you could just knock this book out in a couple hours. And it was just wonderful. And I loved it so much. 5 out of 5 stars. I really didn't have any big issues with it. I thought it was fantastic. I think it's a great addition to the Harry Potter canon. I don't know what else to say. I could just keep rambling on about it, but this isn't a review. This isn't a book talk. This is a wrap-up. So I'm going to leave it at that. If you like Harry Potter, you should read it. Side note, I did go to the midnight release party to get this book, but it was a little bit lame, so I didn't do any footage, so you don't have that coming. Sorry. But Nashua. So there you have it, my July wrap-up. 11 total books, and I'd say half of them were really good. The other half were just kind of okay. I don't have any regrets about this month, so that's good. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what your favorite book of the month was, and have you read the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, because we need to... Okay. All right. I'll see you later. Bye.